Hi guys, it's Weed It, and a couple things just happened. My husband handed me some canvas scraps. He was making a rifle case, and he was using some black canvas at my suggestion, and he gives me the scraps that are left over. So he handed me those scraps, and then I was getting ready to do a pour, and I needed to put some joint compound in these CD now substrates. I put joint compound in. I've got a video about that, so I can get a smooth surface. And so I did that on these four, and it reminded me that it really was time for me to do something what I call just some studio basics. And I'm going to share with you what I do about every 6 months or so. And I'm interested in knowing if y'all do anything like this, and if so, what kinds of things you do. I go through and I will have what I call a studio day, where I do things like I make the canvases. I turn old CDs into, it's not really a canvas, but a substrate for painting. In this case, these are set aside for pours, but this is what it looks like when it's completed. And they're very smooth and work great for any kind of painting that you want to do, assuming you've used the appropriate gesso or pastel medium or watercolor medium, you know, whatever you do. It turns them into a very nice substrate. So I've only got 3 left, and it's time for me to build up and get some more. They're really, really handy. I have tons and tons of junk DVDs. You know how everything comes on DVDs and they're trying to get you to buy stuff, software and everything. So I have a ton of these. So I really need to make more. 3 is not going to last me. And I'll make, you know, I might do 10, and that will last me a good while. I'll have to make more shortly. But I also go through, and this is just a hardboard panel, and this is with the encaustic gesso, because you can tell it's nice and dense as compared to regular gesso. So I've got 1 left, so I need to go through and create, put gesso, encaustic gesso on a bunch more, because I only have 1. And I'm sorry, I lied. These are the encaustic gesso. This is just regular gesso, and you can look at it and tell, hoping to let you see how it's streaky. You don't get that with the encaustic gesso. It's very, very thick, very, very good coverage. So these are the encaustic. I only have 2. That won't last, and I only have 1 for just regular painting, so I'll go through and do a bunch of those and stock up. I also drag out something like the Venetian plaster. This is done with Venetian plaster, and I'm down to 1. So I will go through and put Venetian plaster on, you know, probably about 4 or 5 more. This was done with tinted joint compound, and this is all I have left, and I think I want to do some more colors. So I'm thinking of a blue, a light blue. I want to go in and do some joint compound. I'll probably do about 4. And then this is just plain joint compound, which it gives a great texture to it. So I'll just use some regular joint compound. I don't need to do it this year, but in the past, I'll make a canvas journal. And this is one that I started, and I have not worked on it last year, except for 1 page. Or 1 flap or whatever. This was done with Teresa at Cracked Heart Studios. I had never painted on just raw canvas before like this, and she walked me through it on her video and really, really explained how to do all this shading and everything. Did a great job with it. But when he handed me the canvas, this is what struck me. I was like, oh, is it time for me to make another little flip book, canvas book? And the answer is no, but again, that's something that I would do, that I would take a look at and just sit down, and I don't make one. I have another one that I use for embroidery. So yeah, I'll sit down and I'll make several at one time. And these stickers are to remind me to paint some ivy on around that bottle. And then I just finished reclaiming some substrates. This is encaustic. I didn't like how they turned out, so I melted everything off, and now I've got the substrates to start over with. Of course, going into this is gessoing paintings you don't like. This one, the pink is bleeding through, so I'll probably put a sealer on it, some matte medium, or a, I can't think of it, polymer, and then go back over it with gesso. It was a pour, and it was okay, it wasn't what I wanted. I was going for red, not pink. So anyway, gesso over canvases. So I'm in the process of that. I was given 3 canvas boards. People just, they weren't going to use them, and they had them laying around, so they give them to me. So I need to gesso these. So I get the gesso out, and I do this all at one time. I'll just do a bunch of these. I'll do a bunch of the hard boards. And so, it is mostly substrate preparation, but last year I sat down and I've got my Inktense sticks in these containers, and so I went through, I had white masking tape, and I just made a color swatch because it's hard to tell these. So this is a time where I look, do I have a collection where I need to do color swatches? And the answer is yes. My twinkling H2Os, I've got quite a few of them. I want to put the 1-inch stickers on them and paint them so I can see just by looking at the top what they look like when they're dry. It's sometimes hard to tell. And then I check my palettes, and this one has got 3 little dabs in it, and I think that I will try to do something with them that looks like maybe raw sienna, burnt umber. That's probably naphtha red. It sort of looks like cadmium, but maybe not. Anyway, so I'll go through it and I'll use up as much as I can of these. If I can't use it up, then I will just keep it in mind and keep trying to use it up so that I can recycle this palette and use it for something else. I was thinking gouache. I've never tried putting gouache into a palette and letting it dry, so I don't really know how that's going to work. If anybody has, if you know how that works, if it doesn't or does, please leave a note in the comments, so because I really don't know. I haven't worked that much with gouache, so I don't know how that's going to play out. So, but that's what I was thinking for with this particular one. I could just leave 3 watercolors in it. That would be fine, and put the most commonly used gouache colors here. And then finally, and this is, like I said, this is Studio Basics. I keep a running collection of supplies that need repairs. So it's time I get out. I don't know if this one can be salvaged. I hope so. I love these leafing pens, but I find that evidently I don't use them enough, and you can see the nib is pushed in. I was trying to prime it and it stuck, so I'm going to try to revive this particular pen. I've got to figure out what I've done wrong. I've loaded this thing wrong and fix that. And of course, sprayers that don't work. Every time I come across an art supply that doesn't work, I tend to throw it in here, not usually with my keys and phone, but I put it in a bowl. If it's too big, I put it by the bowl, and then when I've got time, I just sit down and clean it. And this is sort of what I do when I'm not feeling really inspired, but I want to do something. So I call it my just Studio Basics time, that you need to go ahead and get some things ready so when inspiration does hit, I don't have to do what I did today and stop and create the little round substrates to do a pour on. So that's my Studio Basics. That's the kind of thing that I end up doing probably twice a year. Just getting everything ready so that I can grab it and use it. If you do anything like this, or if you have anything else that you do to kind of prepare when you're not really going to do something but you want to get ready, let me know in the comments below, because I'm all about having this studio set up so that it is super easy to use and I have stuff handy. Thank you so much for watching, and do let me know. Bye.